Our next speaker is the global head of CoinMarketCap, or the app that keeps me awake late at night into the early hours of the morning. And guys, I've just met this wonderful lady backstage. She is beautiful as she is smart. And the way into her heart is not through beer, it's through oolong tea. So take note. Presenting the state of global crypto day in, day out, according to CoinMarketCap. Everyone, please put your hands together for Miss Carylyne Chan.
Hi, everyone. So before I start, I'm pretty obliged to tell you that whatever I'm going to say should not be taken as investment advice.
Sorry?
And so just don't go out and buy crypto after this. And even if you do, you can't sue me according to that. So anyway, I'm Carylyne. I head up marketing at CoinMarketCap. So you guys have probably seen these words, over the media. According to CoinMarketCap, the price is this, the volume is this, and so on. And the thing is, you probably have never heard from anyone from CoinMarketCap what exactly do the mysterious people there think about the numbers that we're reporting every day. So today, and actually this particular presentation is like the first time that we are doing a stage presentation. So you guys are making history together with us here today. So thanks a lot for coming to listen. Right now, we look at the market on CoinMarketCap, and it's really not the best time for everyone. I know, it's red. Even if it's green, it's like a little bit. If it's red, it's like a lot of red. So I think, when we think about presenting these numbers kind of day in, day out, we do think of, looking at it in a more long-term perspective. So, for example, in the last quarter, if you look at trading or the market cap or Bitcoin price, it's always been kind of sideways, it's been trading sideways for a while. And some people were actually joking, Bitcoin actually kind of looks like a stable coin. So I think that's something that, is always amusing to us when we look at it. And then, it's been kind of going in that trend for a while until quite recently where it started going south. So that is kind of the dip you see there is just kind of like a dramatic stepwise fashion downwards. But in kind of our view at CoinMarketCap, when we started, 5 years ago in 2013, if you look at the numbers from our end, that particular month that is presented up there is kind of a small blip in the grand scheme of things. So we like to say internally, this is not a winter, this is not a disaster, this is just kind of part of the cycle. So if you look at the all-time high that was reached in November of 2013, that only occurred again in January of 2017. So pretty much all of 2015 was in a down market. I think people were starting to feel, or did feel the way they were kind of starting to feel now. Some companies are thinking of shutting down, or some of the media are saying, crypto is done, it's doomed. And then traditional crypto media are look at these crypto people, they are 80% down since the start of the year. Crypto is done, it's over, right? But I think not necessarily, and I think from our perspective over 5 years, it has its ups, it has its downs. So pretty much all of that is just part of the cycle. We have brought more believers on board, through the course of the 5 years that we have been watching. And also we have dropped some speculators along the way. So kind of speaking of speculation, there are still a lot of sentiment-driven events, that has happened throughout this year. So we plotted it on this chart. And a lot of news still affects the price. So other than the first thing, which is their CoinMarketCap removing Korean exchanges, I think that's that's something that we know also had an impact early in the year. But pretty much everything else, for example, more institutional or regulatory related news has also impacted it. So for example, ETF approval or rejections. We also see things like Google or Facebook bans actually affecting the price. And then we also, just famous people who don't like crypto. Let's say Bill Gates saying that crypto kills people. So, all of these still do have some kind of effect on the market cap, the price for crypto. So we think that there is still quite a long way for us to go in terms of really smoothing out the market, so it's not so obvious when there's news that it will dip dramatically. So, but actually over 5 years, things have changed. When we look at different the different kinds of tokens or coins that we've been listing at CoinMarketCap. Starting in 2013, we saw a lot more clones like Bitcoin clones, and then we move on to pre-mined coins, which are no longer really in favor for the most part. And then we also see proof-of-stake coins really gain prominence in 2015. End of 2016, we started seeing ICO tokens and coins. And then we also see forks in 2017. There are quite an unbelievable number of them if you just search on CoinMarketCap. And then this year we also see more security tokens asking to be listed on CoinMarketCap or asking for a specific security token section on CoinMarketCap to show some of the metrics that they think would be interesting for us to present to our users. So we won't presume to know what's next, but we do think that over time things have matured a lot. From clones up to now, there have been a lot of real improvements to technology and to kind of the teams that are kind of coming into the space. So we are pretty cheered actually overall by how things have changed over the last 5 years. So talking about listings, we only really hit listing momentum this year. So, you can kind of see from the trajectory there that it's only really steep, kind of towards the end of 2017 and all of 2018. So I think here is where you can see that we have been adding way more than we used to, and that's just kind of reflective of the fact that there's just more interest and there's been more projects and teams that are actually asking for the tokens to be listed. So that is with all of these, we do think that there are more reasons to believe in crypto than ever. I know some people don't really feel that right now, but that's definitely, if you take a long-term perspective, that's how we feel about it. So one of it is about use cases that are being pioneered by enterprises. So I know some people think that it is kind of against the spirit of crypto or not really in line with the spirit of like a public ledger and really transparency and all that stuff. But we do think that many of these use cases are good ways of presenting what a larger rollout or big implementation would look like. So for example, for things like tracking lettuce or global supply chain, or let's say tracking luxury products, or even just kind of like car-to-car communication on the blockchain, these are all really good kind of potential use cases that we can look into, and I think that has sparked the imagination of some enterprising people around us that can actually make something of it, maybe more in line with what we think should be kind of like the ideal blockchain and non-blockchain style. But in any case, I think all of these are needed to really push the technology forward. So having these consortia or companies investing in the research like that will help us to improve on that over time in any case. So of course, the next thing then would be ICOs have really brought new energy into the space. So this chart is representing the biggest mainnet launches by market capitalization in 2018. So when we look at something like this, not only have they shown what kind of opportunities are out there when someone really believes that they can do something with the money that they have crowdfunded, we also think that a lot of these are really promising in terms of the actual infrastructure that's being built out. Self-healing chains, interoperability, things like that. I think these are all really good improvements that we are looking forward to. And more than that, they've also brought more attention to crypto as a whole. So now we have other investors who are really interested in crypto. So they might be investing in pure play crypto, let's say Bitcoin, or they could be investing, let's say, token or equity rounds into blockchain. So these are all really important in terms of putting together money that will help to fuel and feed our talent and the technology over time. So we are pretty cheered by this. And another metric that we look at is transactions per day has risen for almost every major crypto. So these are the top 10 on this log scale here. So the red one's obviously Bitcoin. But pretty much for everything else, it has been increasing, some more exponentially than others. But these are really promising signs that there are more and more use of the chains. It is cyclical. I think that's like inevitable because of the fact of the kind of nature of the market, but we do look at this as a metric internally for kind of evaluating crypto, and also in terms of like just general understanding of where all the adoption is going, together with things like dApps. So this chart also shows that kind of like the use transactions have been growing. So in our view, it's actually really important that we have more actual use of the chain that is more consumer facing, so people can actually interact with the stuff. So I know for dApps, like a lot of these growth is actually fueled by gambling dApps, and I think that's just a nature of crypto. It just much more naturally lends itself to, let's say, a gambling dApp. If you want to play a game on a blockchain, it's difficult. Kind of putting the onus on the user to figure out, oh, what is gas? How do I send it? How long do I have to wait? Do I have to wait more than 10 minutes? Things like that. So these are all things in the user experience that need to be smoothed out before we can really see like a big adoption over real apps, which are still a lot easier to use for the regular user. So, but gambling dApps to show that like if we get the crypto economics right, like it is possible to do something that really has growth and drives use over time. So another way we look at it is like physical actual use and acquisition of cryptocurrencies. So for example, being able to get crypto from ATMs around the world, that was pretty mind-boggling for us. Back in 2013, the infrastructure for this was a lot less, and then now it's like you can get Bitcoin from almost everywhere around the world from an ATM, which is cool. And then we also see like more cafes accepting crypto. We see more kind of like pawnbrokers and other secondhand stores. They also do crypto. So I think more and more people will find more utility in crypto. So that's definitely one big theme that we care about at CoinMarketCap in terms of driving utility and adoption. So with all of these different things, kind of use cases, ICOs funding, and now like physical adoption, dApps, transactions on chain, stuff like that. These are all metrics that we feel are important when evaluating a crypto. And like we always tell our users, do your own research. So like internally, when we do look at some of the things, researching some of these things, like these are some things that are important to us in evaluating state of the crypto day in, day out. Of course, not everything is perfect, right? Not everything is like completely rosy. We know that. So one of the internal data that we do see is that on CoinMarketCap you see only active exchanges, but we also see the inactive exchanges that have been driven out of business, whether kind of like hacked out of business or regulated out of business or ran out of money, things like that. So we do know that it's kind of like a sobering number, in the fact that the number of active exchanges only barely edges out the inactive exchanges that have once been on the CoinMarketCap before they ran out of business. So we know the exchanges are kind of in a kind of tough spot. Like it is very difficult economically to make it work nowadays with a lot of competition, which we do see as well from our end, because let's say for example, just taking number of requests that we get for listings. So this year, the number of exchange listing requests outstrip the number of new coins, new token requests for CoinMarketCap. So that is a pretty astounding number, I think, in my opinion. And then I was just joking about this the other day. I said, if for every time that someone comes to me and say, I have a partnership request for you, and I ask, which exchange do you want me to list? That would be the right answer 90% of the time. Like that would work 90% of the time. So I think that is kind of anecdotally a reflection of the kind of kind of competition that we see among exchanges these days. So that is that brings us to another tough topic for us, which is exchange volume. So every day people come to us and say, hey, look at this fake, look at this scam exchange with fake volumes. Like you got to take them down. You got to like police them. But I think like it's actually really difficult from our perspective, kind of thinking about how exactly would you want us to react to that, because our job is to present and report the information as what the exchange would like to be presented, but to give our nuanced opinion about what that really looks like. So what we have introduced this year is a metric called adjusted volume. So adjusted volume helps just give that opinion to our user about what we think is the volume after we have adjusted it for things, kind of like transaction mining or like volumes which are suspicious, things like that. And then we put up flags on the page to help people to understand that some of these things that we look at may have some kind of suspicious numbers going on. So that's our version of transparency to help people to understand what is it that they want people to see, what is it that we think is the real number, and then helping the user to decide on their own, make their own conclusions about what would be the actual accurate number for the exchange. And pretty much same for price as well. We do get pretty much the same thing every day. People say, look at the scam coin, like obviously the volume is fake, they're manipulating their own coin price and stuff like that. I think that does happen. And when you look at this chart, page views is something that we see, obviously, for each coin. So we take that as a sign of interest. But also at the same time, like that sign of interest in terms of page views might deviate quite a lot from crypto prices. They are, they do track, but then like sometimes like right in the middle, that does spike quite a lot, and it is quite different. So even though like these things do happen, like there are other factors that lead to it happening. For example, just kind of different kind of news which are not factored in by page views and things like that. So yeah, we think like price is just one particular factor that people should look at when evaluating something. And the worst of it, in our opinion, is users are still subject to scams and hacks. So not everything is as epic as BitConnect or CoinCheck, but even just small things. Let's say, for example, spoofed emails. So like we get that. Like so, if you receive an email from anyone from CoinMarketCap asking you to pay money, that's definitely a scam. Like just don't reply. But it's a lot more difficult for other, like let's say exchanges or kind of other service providers who actually do collect payments, and they do send out requests over email. Like that makes it very difficult. So each time that even just like a small kind of like spoofed email scam happens, that actually is bad for us. It invites more scrutiny. It invites kind of like it drives away people who have been burnt before by these scams away from the industry. So this is something that we do keep quite a close eye on. We do warn people of things like that because we think like it's actually really important that we fight this together as an industry. And one thing that really kind of boggles us sometimes, like kind of like it's really strange to us sometimes, is like how people still refer to cryptocurrencies as rivals. So like in this particular news article, you can see like it refers to the rivals of Bitcoin as Ether, Litecoin, XRP, which to us is really strange because in our view, which you may or may not agree, like if we project ourselves into a sovereign future, everybody should just use whatever crypto that they like. They should just keep whatever crypto that they like, and they should all be interoperable. So to call them rivals at this particular stage isn't really helpful. It doesn't really actually drive any adoption. People just look at us and say, you guys are just fighting like kids. So that still happens, and like we don't really think that is a good thing. And when people talk about flippening, the rippling is real on CoinMarketCap in terms of page views. So, XRP actually has more page views this year than Bitcoin. So that is pretty amazing. And then, but it does change over time. So in terms of like, page views or just like interest in cryptocurrencies, they change over time. So we think a much more positive, less name calling kind of culture would really help us to all push all of the cryptocurrencies forward anyway. So I think if you really zoom out, you look at the big picture from CoinMarketCap's perspective. So here's where I'm going to share some interesting internal stats. Most time is still being spent on the front page of CoinMarketCap. So if you look at the numbers there, homepage 1, homepage 2, and all cryptocurrencies page pretty much almost rivals the long tail pages on CoinMarketCap, 1 million of them. So just those 3 pages are pretty much kind of the same page views as 1 million other pages on CoinMarketCap. So these numbers pretty much tell us that it's early. Like many people are still not really looking at the other cryptos out there. They're just kind of going to the front page and spending the most time there. And That's not to say organically that hasn't really been changing. So over time, when we started in 2013, page view per person was maybe like 1.5 or 1.7, and then now it's kind of steadily growing to 3 pages per person per session. So each time they come to CoinMarketCap, they look at least 3 pages. So that is really a really good sign that there is more interest now, that people are really kind of at least browsing more on the site than they did ever before. And the kind of silly and slightly sad thing about it is that actually our site traffic is still 90% correlated with Bitcoin price. So it's better now. Last year it was 95% correlated. Before that it was 99% correlated. So it is going down. So we think that, you know, when we look at a number like this internally, it just tells us, okay, it's early. Like, we shouldn't pat ourselves on the back. We should not kill ourselves over any bad news, because we need to build essentially a whole base of people who are going to be interested in crypto no matter what the market, no matter what the sentiment, and then, you know, not just based on like what the top coin price is. So I think this is something that we look at internally to really ground ourselves when it really comes down to it. And the watch list also confirms some of this. So, you know, like the most watchlisted coins on CoinMarketCap, 88% of them come from the top 100 coins, the first page of CoinMarketCap essentially. So we do think that there is a lot more that can be done to share with users about the other 2,000 plus cryptocurrencies out there. And that's something that we are actively working on. Now we have like a blog, we have a newsletter, we have a Telegram chat bot, things like that, that actually help to bring up the other, you know, kind of profiles of other good cryptocurrencies that are out there in the space. We highlight them, we talk about why they exist, what their purpose is, what they're doing, how does it work, and things like that, so that we can bring up the general understanding of cryptocurrency in the space and use our position to really push the educational aspects of it to more people who are actually really interested in crypto but don't really know much about it. So, according to CoinMarketCap, midweek lunchtime is the most popular time to track cryptocurrency prices. So that is kind of where we are today. So now we are at midweek, we are at lunchtime. So go get your crypto fix, go to CoinMarketCap, look at a new coin page that you've never seen before. And if you want to look at the numbers in more detail, you can go to coinmarketcap.com/dataroom. You can email me if you need to, you know, in terms of, you know, whether you have questions about the data or things like that. Don't ask me about listing. You can only do that through the methodology of the request form. And join our Telegram. That's pretty new, so we only launched that 2 days ago. So let's continue the conversation there and talk to you later. Thank you.